Spanish.
Esclareceu?
So let's start. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we start, Geshes just asked me to do a brief presentation of this group, since some of you are new here. And so this is this group here called Shide. Shide in Tibetan is peace of mind. So we just changed to English to Tibetan. And so this group was inspired because all of them are already Geshes, full graduated Geshes. So they had this amazing knowledge in the Buddhist philosophy and psychology. And they could see that it's very beneficial besides on the religious faith. And so how beneficial can be for anyone. And so they decided to create this group that last year, I think in December, it was started here. And so through all psychological and philosophical texts, and so they do this kind of speech classes. They also teach language in order for those who really wish to deep their knowledge in Buddhist scriptures and so forth. But the main aim is not to turn people Buddhist, but is to take the benefit of Buddhist psychological and philosophical views to everyone's life. And so in order to achieve a more peaceful and tranquil lifestyle. Okay, so this is Shide, this group. So it's made by 15 or more than 15 Geshes, all full graduated Geshes. All of them, they came from Tibet. Chango is the name of the place. And they were graduating of the Muslim monastery. Okay? And so first of all, Tishtale, welcome everyone. And I'm very happy to see so many of you like with interest in listening this kind of nice and precious talk.
That didn't go to three, got to the Malaysia Mogo, two day, number two, Toba Carriona, and the Jones to Yanchi Joe Carriona, and the deep told them to the church. Cover them, another what you got to some of the young Tirisani, is on Delia, Mansuchi, Namta down, chicks, Timber down, chicks, same my Jubber and Nasa, in the moment in Euro. Oyantini Kola to control Jetwaina, and there's a young because Ibaina, Tarano Sudo, Chiva, Cariovaina, and the channel to say Chivatam. You're not doing the party.
Well, today, so we start, and well, today I'm not gonna speak so much. We're not gonna speak so much, like it's not a proper class. Today is a special session, just question and answers. This is the main aim. Why? Because so many classes, so many questions. So today we are here just to mainly focus in your questions, in your doubts, online people from home, and also you here, okay? And also we want to also address these questions towards the how to reflect and how to think about methods to reduce some of the main, not diseases, the main problems that most of us in the society are going through, like anxiety, depression, and fear, and so forth. And so this is my main aim is to drive, to guide the questions toward these directions. But any question that you have, please please do it.
너도 야시. 너도 하려 야시. 너도. 다 되는 많지. 다만 저 반스 저는 저 지와 가는 거 있나? 우리 뭐 하는 거 있나? 지와.
So let's start with question. Anyone home or here, if you want to make a question now? Any question for now? Home? No? Oh, you don't have. Okay, please.
Yes, I would like to know if people would like to study Tibetan Buddhism, and how can he or she find the Zuku?
Find what?
Zuku.
A tulku.
Yeah.
A tulku in order to learn Buddhism.
Yeah.
Nancho
Tibetan Buddhism.
Nancho namido da pepe nancho jaya dopayona. Ani kandis tulku tseri kandis tulku jayiri. Tulku namido da lampa gela brera. Na gela lamazo. Ani pepe nampe chu jaya chedura. Mi fardu gela gorizra. De imbason san gela lamazo tulku. This tulku jayiri. Nanchi jaya gela ba tulku. Kandis tseri tulku.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Yes, because one of my friends in Taiwan, she say her friend invite her to see Rinpoche. And she said, "Wow, it means I made a good." Well,
Tulku.
so I say, maybe you should really, but the question for her because she wants to learn, but she don't know how can she find it.
So when you say tulku or Rinpoche, you mean like in order to learn Tibetan Buddhism, like one needs a teacher. And so in order to find a teacher, proper teacher, does this teacher needs to be tulku or Rinpoche or not, or how to find? This is the question. Ani Tenzin nancho jaya do kayona nancho sama Rinpoche bupen nancho jaya ani ni fardu gela gore na gela sama Rinpoche ni Taiwan ju chumo chigla so ani na Rinpoche gela Rinpoche chi da ni tu biare ji ni ma so so nancho jaya la ni fardu ni tu ya mena Rinpoche sala jangore ni ke sigona understand.
Yes.
Не parte goji mari churka dra anshi jona de churka goyo na to na gi on chaka nama kabda jab tar ni churka teri chik tiaro de teri chik tiaro da to bi on chaka mo yo na tu shinge chik ten go ma to yin chik chik no chik jona churka chik goji ma churka de ata na to learning so kin ro ma ji ro ta no so ke kya na de mo de change chik la churka de go mo ko yon de ka de chena churka de yo mari 연대 경사도 그 연대 정보 직비나 약속도 들어와. 아주 그때 연대 시장에서 이런 직비나 상가들 먼저 진행을 다시 해야지 시장 좀.
Well, in order to study Dharma or to study Buddhist philosophy, actually you don't need a tulku or Rinpoche to study this. Actually, you need someone who understands the scriptures, who can guide you in the path. Because tulku is just the proper name in order to identify reincarnation of a previous lama and so forth. It's more like this. But and also there are some tulkus in this life, a tulku that maybe has not necessarily the whole qualities necessarily in order to guide the student. So in order to study Dharma, you need a teacher who really are involved by all qualities that can guide you, can lead you towards the path, towards the understanding of the script. Person, the teacher has to be knowledgeable, understand previous and past lives and so forth. This is more important than just the name.
나르고 산도 제나 단다 개가 소만하시는 거네. 간 라바데 데랑 케바스. 소소그지 그래서 라마테한테 가서 코사디 소소 연대지라고. 연대지라고 이거는 소소 강 자야 연대인데 소소리 가지고 하고 신기요가이나 데리지를 때는 비교를 따라서 드리사님 미망치야 되는 가는데 주께다 지진이 민지요디가나 대시고지 코사디 라야노 요만 오지 소르데오다. 예라위 잡아요만. 이나야 소소 빼나 빼샤마이 다르다. 빼샤마이 소소 데버시 장도 요니 지ben 데버시 가면 다 야보신이지 소소 때야라는 데 소소라 구톤데 때레마도 이제 주께 임바이나 제나라 무슨 그마 진기라는지 저 샤녀요. 그 제가 보니 장고요 소다 로고요 소다 그거는 데버시 신기지 비다 그렇게
I agree with Geshe, and also my part of the answer is like in order to be the teacher, the spiritual teacher or teacher of Dharma, one needs to know more than the student, more than person who is learning the scriptures, right? And so this is very important. How can you guide someone? How can you teach someone if you have less knowledge than the person who is studying? So that's very important. Nowadays, we see many students like really looking after the name of the teacher, like just for the name, the title, if it's Rinpoche and so forth, just for the title. And that's really not good. Like that's not a proper way of seeking for a teacher and even less studying Dharma. Because what you have to look is for the quality, for the knowledge of that person. So if the person, let's talk about, so in order to start understanding Dharma, so you have to understand the way of work, of functioning of the Four Noble Truths, right? And so if the person that you're aiming to be a teacher and so forth knows the proper way of working of the Four Noble Truths, then you can rely to him as teacher. Otherwise, like just because it has the name and fancy name and so forth and doesn't have the proper knowledge, so it's not really a proper way to rely as a teacher. Just like when we want to learn anything, any topic and anything. So when one aspire to learn a specific topic, so one seeks for a teacher, expert and professional in that topic. Likewise, if one wants to really understand the Buddhist psychology and philosophy, one has to look for a scholar within that topic. And a scholar not necessarily means just a truku. So one has to, so Geshe means the person who went through all the knowledge, the 23 years of studies, of knowledge within the Buddhist philosophy, for example. So one has to look for the scholar within the topic, not for the name.
So, 지금 제목은 뭐, 그래서 지금 남아 간이지는 때고 그래서 지금 신이 들어와 시와 예시와 소만하시 돈다 라버스는 그 냠내 요든지 소소리 요든 토아이 거지. 아니 다가 나시기 소소는 뭐 노조 제원이 가는 탑은 나서 보니 아니 소소는 요든 제토게 근데 지금 다 돈다 키티나는 키주 쥐어서 그래. 이네 키주 쥐는 아니 다 수치야죠. 어디니 denke지 이마이나 아니 소소 변한 때나 지기요래지 뭐 되겠어. 지금 잠깐 봐.
잠깐 공부. 잠깐 공부 좀 잠깐 아니
잠깐 너무 너도 이제 손도
Oh, and just like Buddha Maitreya said, in order to rely to a teacher, the teacher actually has to have at least 10 attributes or qualities, right? Those who are studying Mandarin, they know this. So 10 qualities, but at least from these 10 qualities, at least 3 is very, very important. First of all, is to have more qualities, more knowledge than the student. Second quality, 아니 규정이 potenza? Yes. And then the second quality or attribute is to have the proper practice within the 3 pitakas, within the 3 practice of discipline, concentration, and wisdom. Has to have a really understanding and practice within these 3 pitakas. And the last one is to be very skillful in terms of teaching the students. So actually has to have 10 attributes or qualities, but at least 3 of these is mandatory in order to rely as a teacher. If one doesn't know, one has to ask before translating, right? But talking about truku, to be a truku is very good. To have a truku or rely on a truku is very good when one receives an initiation. And so, when one is receiving like a tantric initiation and so forth, because it's very good to receive the blessing from the teacher. And so to rely on a turku is very good. It's very important. It has a difference.
There's a question here by Rika. She's asking, what's the difference between the 7-point mind training and the 8 verses of mind training? What is the difference? Le John de Duma dans le John Tikema.
Actually, the two mind training, they don't have actually proper difference in the sense of the purpose. So the training of the mind to transform this mind is the same. The aim is the same, but what is different is just like the way of condensing some information. So some of the information like condensed in 7 or condensed in 8 steps, they are the only difference, but rather the aim and the way of practicing is the same. Of course, we have a little bit of how to practice each of the steps is a little bit different, but like the aim and how to achieve the goal is the same.
장주고 셈로 로장도 랑 진진 매보서 당 거래 어디니 지는 소리 거래 난다 로종 측제마서 디가나 코쇼노가 그 기가 토니 양 다가랑 무실로 장사도 가르는 디가 장주고 셈 다가랑래 로정도 로종 제가 장주고 셈로 로장도 이마이나데 돈지 가서 쇼노가 기가 나니 마소 조지가 측이 찬데마도 조자라 잡으려
Is mainly the difference is between the number of verses that is presented. So how many verses is presented in order to transform, in order to train the mind, to train the mind. So it's all of them, both of this training is in order to train the mind towards a better mind, like embodied by bodhicitta, and how to give rise to this mind. But then how many verses is relying on these teachings? So this is the proper difference.
지금 저는 아주 깎고라야 로종 깎고라 람림 이니 고민다다 예 지금 진짜 무엇을 가르치니까 돈다 장주고 생로로 장당 이날 때라讨论된다다 조직의 자리 그 기반의 디바 어디를 잡고 거니 용기를
Actually, mind training and stages of the path, like there are these two texts, right? Lamdon, the stages of the path, and Lojong is mind training. So actually the name are different, but actually the aim is exactly the same, like in order to transform, what are the steps in order to transform the mind? This is the same.
이나니 장가 저 로종 나니 로종도 저저 주도 가는 랑 진진의 옆에 균 가르가르 요네 직송 얘네 랑 가라샤 진진의 요네도 저 직상 직송 얘네 제네 랑 진진 도덕다 제 진진 바란게라 계속 다수 로종 망치야디나 대송고.
And what training, which kind of training of the mind? Actually, in order to reduce the bad state of the main bad state of mind, which is the egocentrism or the self-cherishing mind. So what are the methods in order to reduce the self-cherishing mind? What are the faults? Looking and studying the faulty side of the self-cherishing mind. So one study the methods to this, and also one seeing at the qualities of the mind who cherish others. So how can I develop this mind within my own mental continuum? So this is the purpose of these two texts.
따라 진진 고근이 매버서 저도 송고야 가르네스. 제가 진진도 빼초 상만이 빼랑제를 계속 제고 임사 가르네스디 당하로 졸래야 무슨 니가 나올래야 강에다 녀다 참아도 주 가르래 되는 거래서 대라 진진돼야 될 때는 거로. 라 진진돼야 될 때는 요구요 sonza 제가 예지 마시 초리 다야다 지금 매버서 탈론도 주고 송데.
And why do we need to study and to reduce the self-cherishing mind? And why, through understanding the qualities, we need to increase the mind of cherishing others, the altruistic mind? Why is that? Well, everyone wants exactly the same, right? Everyone wants to be happy. And what is the proper source of happiness? Or what is the proper source of suffering? We suffer because out of this very self-cherishing mind. While we are under the force of this self-cherishing mind, the results suffer nothing less, nothing more than this. So because of this, we have to understand the methods, how to reduce the self-cherishing mind and increase the opposite, the antidote of self-cherishing mind, which is this others cherishing. Okay. Then,
I have a question. I've been speaking to many friends in many countries. They are sincere practitioners in the Dharma. And whenever they practice after a few years, they meet with some obstacles. For example, some have health issues, or they run into some dispute or a little bit of a relationship problem with certain people, or they run into some financial difficulties in the path that's obstructing their practice, is obstructing their studies in the Dharma. So is there any good way that we can practice, or prayers, or some sort of help that can help to reduce the obstacles and improve good conditions?
ngang mo siya kasi kung so nancho jang kenirira. Nani penangilunga siya kasi kung so nancho jang ito pa peche puyure. Inang parvero la kung so parchepe man puyure. Yang mena pesha mengyo, yang mena ni chotentang, ani kanyere la sopa dua. Ani dima somsang da nancho jang ye parchepi seleche do tapshi kare yome.
무시에 지금 번째 도야 지금 그래서 다죠. 아니 원하는 게 아니라 다 되게 무시한로 가. 이 번째 그간에 가진 것에 그 시소서 같이 프로파다 냠들이 하는데 네가 미간지 이 버치는 것이.
야다 그저 담보 나로 지금 내다샤 안 가는 거 삼들시야 지금 당초 단 남기 그 아주 소경을 보탄세는 비도 당초 남기니 가라 나의 지요래 지금 야 딜리가 벌써 소용 도와라 아주 요 지금 소소 지금 소는 그 자마 교니 어디를 위한 벌친으로 되는 문제를 요소서요 딜래야 지금 남기 채널 지금 소는 다 소는 사야지 디가라야 주대 지금 강아지 청막 토비아데 가르네 있으니까야 주 제절도 지금 소는 사야가 나니 역시 지금 가르네 있으니까 지금 소소가 지금 가족 토도가 지금 sembasambu chegoya ta sembasambu chizbigala suzu shokiyalandi ni tadiri imajidana suzu chizemjana pemato na chime samadu odela sokon chombi sembasambu tietopchea atina jigoni chance wa nagi goni chosona saya indili chebayina ya suzu chodan sonu saya odili chini kali chi josoji chayo ngalaya chiko doktoya chi doya ya kinchi chayo odatini yo chimo jiglavde.
Well, actually, there are many causes, and there are many causes and conditions necessary in order to be the obstacles to the studies. But mainly, if one has difficulties or obstacles for the studies, is one of the signs that has few merit for this, or is already degenerated, or has no merit enough for that practice, and so one needs to increase the merit. And so how can we increase the merit? And so one needs to think about how many practices can we do for increasing merits, one thing. And second is, well, it's very important to keep always a very good attitude, like be a good and kind-hearted person, like a good person. Because in being a good person, one will struggle every day to be as better person as possible. And if one cannot help others, at least don't harm others. Just cultivating this mind, one becomes like a better person. And this is also a proper way of collecting merits, this second thing. And the third thing, a part of this, just like being in daily routine of good person and cultivating these very kind thoughts and so forth. Of course, we have also some other methods to cultivate and increase the merits that we have. For example, either like the prostration of body and mind. And also, of course, sometimes like doing some repeating some mantras and some prayers. This is also since he's a believer, if it's a Buddhist believer. So of course one can repeat some mantras also. It's good.
사람들이 시대하고 여러분들
Tate nati ngam no de ko shin jawo de na sana do do che kal nani kan shi che ra. Atar chi tawla chi de de ko zo ni chi ru si na ni ko ni pa ja mi ta ro tawla ten ta chi ra. Na so chul che al pa che gi ga su de so sa ma to re de yo de ora. So non go sa pa ja ma cho de do che re ya do ten je de ko ni mo do la you get switch with the word you get on almost up early not having you will maison you get but yes I'm you now get out the year and not having you will maison be at the shoot that you will tell you that it's all to the job on the year is not almost to at the so you teaching the whole the chain you tell it Gang time I want to so much which is up and China down the Nichon go down the Nichon go your name from the Equal Chamacha Rio Market, set the Tower Panther to the cheating. The teacher for Yapa Chandra, you on your day.
And also I can speak by my own experience. I had also so much obstacles, so much difficulties in order to accomplish my studies. And so what I did is I either had like physical and health problems and so forth. And so I had also to, I agree, we have to cultivate, we have to accumulate merit in order to break the any kind of obstacles that we have. And so either like repeating the mantras, like, you know, Vajrasattva mantras, like the 108 syllables Vajrasattva mantras, that is in order to purify negativities. And if one has like physical diseases or like if one's sick, so one can also repeat the mantra of the medicine Buddha and so forth. And so this kind of methods I think is good. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And another thing that Geshe also said before I translate this also is, for example, since Geshe also said that meditation also since our aim to study this is to reduce our self-cherishing mind. So we have one of the best methods also is meditation in emptiness. And so we have also to cultivate in daily practice the thought of remembering and cultivating meditating emptiness is also very good method, he said. Okay, and Geshe Phuntsok now, yes, it's definitely, for example, for all of us to practice this, to achieve the ultimate goal, we have to start with the preliminaries. And actually, within all the preliminaries, one of the first preliminary practice is to do the yoga, Guru yoga. So to do Guru yoga practice. And so, of course, there's many kinds of yoga practice, mainly into two directions, like either the sutras explanation of Guru yoga and tantric explanation of Guru yoga, but it's still both of them. It's very important to do to engage in these practices, because actually one visualizes one teacher, like one's own root guru, like all of with his qualities and so forth. And so one visualizes like merging it into others' qualities. And so this is very important in order to really try to get the qualities and understandings and so forth. And so this is good. And also, just like Geshes said, also to remember, recollect again and again, like reflections on emptiness also is good.
Когда 나중에 가르쳐 지가 토비아데 가르쳐 소노사도 토비아 가르용을 그랬으니까 소소도 지금 파마에는 소소 파마네에 봐 야고치야다 아니 지금 가라사에 가르쳐 지금 쳐볼거야 나다나 지금 요즘 어디리피야 어디리 제발이나야고 벌써 그러면 토비아 지금 교송의 뒤에 시간 먹어서 어디리 차고서 두서다 양 가려나요 가지 이치 뭐 있어요 참.
Another method also very good, I think we don't have to forget, is to treat well and to remember the kindness of our parents. So this is a very important thing to do in daily practice. Also, like to offer all the time that before we eat, so do the food prayers, the food offerings, and also like the offering stores all the high realized beings, Buddhas and so forth. And so in order to engage within this practice in daily routine, then this is important to accomplish some merit.
The many
And besides like collecting merit and doing all of this practice and all this, they said, of course, it's very important. But you know that in some countries or in some places, it's a little bit difficult to reach either like some teachers, good teachers, or proper teachings. Like it's not this kind of teachings, it's not spread everywhere. Like we don't find everywhere, like either like less teachers and so forth everywhere. So maybe in those countries, they don't have access to these good kind of good teachers and good teachings and so forth. But nowadays we have the technology, so one has to rely on the technology also, like YouTube and so forth, in order to attend to teach, to listen to a proper reliable teaching. This one has to use this proper facility of our time.
Yeah,
nowadays our best friend is this, right? And so we want to do a proper use of it.
그래도 진리를 용다 해서 가고 이나요 디그나요 소소래야 그것도 뭐지 배려야 돼요 소소 이배하고도
Yes, it's so true. So nowadays there is no one without mobile, right? I think everyone has mobile and everyone is using so much mobiles nowadays. So one has to use properly. One to take advantage of the technology, of the facilities that these kind of machines or mobiles they bring. So do use this in order to reach a proper teaching.
근데 이제 지금은 나ኛ도 이 야는 뭐 지금이나 손주나 같은 대통 지금들아 이제 뜻은 서로 같이 바시할 지금 이제든지 있다는 둥은 그것도 가능한 일이래요.
And also even like you're here and there's he calls giving teachings all the time like online. And so if you have any friend that is lacking of this kind of teachings and it's really for have this kind of teaching, we can you can share all. You can look at this, listen to these teachings online and so forth. You can show them all. Like slowly they come.
내가 다들 스스로 먼저 그 복음으로 붙이고 지금 다 나타나는 이게 마치 미로 다인데 먼저 복음으로 해서 스스로 잠깐만 나와줄 수 있고 근데 준비 요나이 아니 맞서 파타로 보고 되면 아니 나의 팀들 그거도 산 이제 사는 거 스스로 잠깐만 나와줄 수 있는 것을 좋아하는 거 and there are certain department of anything you want to do. But I did so the cautionary. Anytime that's another the only time also Tony go that is the done that Sarasha and so the time when in the land Marunatan and in the Thomas on that. Nitiajima to Solomon and then Quakachon. Mara Yopuja, some of them will call it as a teacher.
Yeah. Yes, it's true that sometimes we have some difficulties, like we go through difficulties. Let's take like we live in the West. And so we are living in the West and either like we have economic problems or we have like healthy problems and so forth. Sometimes this can happen. So these are some difficulties, or even sometimes there is teachers there or not. And sometimes if you have these kind of problems, or if you have teachers, but it's still many people, they wish to come to the East in order to learn this, or even here to India, Dharamshala, or whatever, in order to learn this. But many people, they do feel like this is an obstacle because they cannot come here in order to study. But I think it's proper just to stay in one's own country and study and use properly to use the time and the place properly in order to study. This is also fine, because you have all the facilities and so forth that we just mentioned now. This is one thing. The second thing is sometimes even we have like difficulties like in health and so forth, that it really like enable us to study. In that moment, one can cultivate the mind or to think like, well, since now I'm not able to engage in proper studies because of my healthy problems and so forth. We have some examples, and so at least one can do to give rise to the aspiration, or to pray, or to aspiration for the next life, for the next life to encounter to the all proper favorable conditions in order to study. Since now it's not possible, but it's still the most important. Doesn't matter which kind of difficulties one encounters with. It's very important to keep that life, that moment, with a very good attitude, like human attitude, to be always a very good person. I remember something.
저보다 당시 시가 뭐지 근데 다리고 이렇게 남아서는 주셔서도 그래야지 다 소소하게 듣지더라고도 삼니 소소하게 예치를 돼야지 quand yoga de la shara citambe de la shara cosani shara jando maji tharimo ji la dona ko jelo chia no yoga no ya gaji ko mamuji tagi chero ko tiwa dia non chu poke non chu jana lama trikete gore sa to so deo yo kare resi de ko so so nyeti baso namji poba pele kala pa bi sos so kala pa bi so ji yo na tigre modo so kat tapja modo min so pita boyo de shela shela yo ba de puta so de so nyeti de ka yo ba de so san de janki jeni ni ta ki traja da so de ki kaman zo ba di to de che de ba ina mo ba nam shi de na so le je so chi sa yo des de mo ne ga de modo ta ri mo ji de yo ba di to la ba chi te nga ko sa la je sa ra mo so nyeti de bi le chi de yo ba ina ko sa ri ya ko ma ja ma chi so de mo mo ji yo go no to so ya ma so bi ba de simple shago so nyeti le chi lam ye chi yo ba ina ne ko de la fa ka ja chi ko sa ni jang de na no chi re chi yo des.
It's very important to keep in mind that it's not just because it's far away, like all the lamas are far away, and so you have to rely and have like faith on them and so forth. And then those nearby us, the teachers and so forth, that they are there, that they exist around us. So we just sort of looking down, or we just don't give the proper respect, or don't listen to them. Actually, this is not a good attitude. It's even related to your question. Like many people, they think that it's even like in the surroundings, those teachers around us is not that good because I need to go far away to reach the proper teacher very far away from us, or it's not nice just to rely on those, like the small teachers and so forth, because I need a proper tool and so forth. I mean, these two mentalities are sort of related, and this really happens a lot. And so one has to really remember, actually, if we have the possibility, the possibility to rely to teachers around us with knowledge, of course, with knowledge, but to rely teachers around us. Like we don't need to keep craving all the time to reach more and almost like impossible objects to reach or teachers to reach. We have to rely properly in those around us.
And the Patrick the Lamdon that almost change your career is the Ghana. And the Patrick social so we were in that bit of someone did it that as a policy. And it's up to pay by your way of being finished. The Patrick in the social control. And I'm going to do the Ghana book in you continue in a luggage, the two record. And then you continue go that in the colors or knowledge you the day. And so you talk about it. And like you with the cover, the do not that background, don't you care? They are going to go down the shaking. So, why should the counter is? Not such a better much of some sure they should say. Harris, the butter which is that you didn't touch him with anyway. Harris, and the political pay that better which is the pay much the Peter Muchi pay a pita woman a channel pita for your event. Call a shabality. But they control. Control other you social so that they have to be put on Alama Pedro. Kids, Alama Pedro. Namatan and Delushi made that. Got that. And it up you let in the Leon, the Gala Corporate Shabality, the Pedro Muchi, the channel. Chairs and also carries because the Pedro Muchi, the Galpet, Pudu, that's in the Lamakira Chamber to Pudu. Now I shall do it. Didn't body. Corporate to look you, the age in Namji, charter to get in the digital. Also, same when I know the Yape, social so they need to pay Lavasa Chamber because the Pudu, the Italian semi corporate. In no.
There one story of the Pedro Rinpoche. There is he was so the Pedro Rinpoche. The Pedro Rinpoche. They are laughing for my pronunciation. The Pedro Rinpoche.
English, Patrick Rinpoche.
Just me. Butter and butter. Just
And so in the biography of Patrick Rinpoche, in his biography, saying that one day he was going on the street and he met he was a very humble person, like very humble and using a very simple clothes and so forth. And then he met someone on the street And this person that on the street is raining. Usually in the manner you run because always we just leave the clothes outside. And so, and this pattern so was using very simple clothes. And then he was walking the street and he met someone. And then this person was sort of carrying a very fancy clothes, or very fancy and and rich clothes in order to wear. And after to go to meet a very fancy Rinpoche, very important Rinpoche. And then he asked to this person, who you will meet to? Why you're so will be so well dressed and so forth. And then this person answered, because I'm going to meet a very, very high Lama, like Patrul Rinpoche. I'm going to meet Patrul Rinpoche. And so what? So you, because you have a very fancy and very rich clothes, sort of rich clothing that or offer the rich clothes or wear rich clothing. Yes, and so this person was going to meet a very important Rinpoche. So that's the reason that he was with a very important clothes. And then the Rinpoche, which was just a very humble person on the street, this person didn't recognize this. And then he said, what? Because you want to meet a very important person, and that's the reason that you want to offer the proper clothes, and so very rich and fancy clothes. Do you think it's just all the Rinpoches or all the very high lamas and so forth, they be a very rich and fancy person? Do you think it's like that? And then this Rinpoche just slept in the person, slept the person on the street. And then then this person reached the place where the teaching ground, where everyone was waiting for the very fancy and important Rinpoche, like Patrul Rinpoche is about to come and so forth. And then when finally the proper Patrul Rinpoche arrived, and then it was exactly the same, exactly that very poor and simple person on the street that slept. And so and then he said, why you guys, what do you think? Just because to be a Rinpoche, and so forth, one has to be very fancy and very wear very fancy clothes, and to be a very fancy person, it's not like that. So this has a lot of meaning and lesson within this. Ben? You, Karina, you have?
Okay. About become a nun or monk. Two of my friends. One is a very good relationship with parents. So she think about it about around 10 years. And then finally she decided not to become a nun because she wants to take care about parents. Another one, she's not in good relationship with parents. So she parents they don't want her to become a nun. But she decided that cut all relationship.
She decided what?
Cut relationship.
To cut.
No connection.
With the parents.
Yeah. And to become a nun. So to be a nun or monk, how can we deal with the parent or relationship with family in a good way? Yeah. How can we choose?
Ni ani tanchapa zoe dura. Penana, mushipani, chick, ani konika ni ani zonidu. Ani chick popama ni jope yapote da mochiku. Ani ineara da susupama ni yapo da foguete do ta roupa ta yue yapochidura. Yue yapochidus ko ani zogime tanto chepare. Ani mushipa shembatira ko tam pamani jo chune yapomindu. Ani pamani tipi ko ani doya chune kerengi mindu pamani. Ine ko nie fardo ani zogini ko sacho cheparira. Di chene ko ani doya chetu pamani di jeva berche Ani dzieła cienie, to ani zoja kada czasire, ani zostaje na masara. Dei ma sono nie cię dire. Ani tam czapa zoja cię du. Tama nie dzieła. Tam dres cię göre. Di dzieła cię tam ten amigo da. Tama nie dzieła jak szo kanede. Ani tam czapa zoja cię du.
Very good English. Learn to understand English, but not good. Yeah, you say some parents agree with yeah. Some parents they didn't agree. They make a nun and monks. Yeah, you question that. Yeah.
Some people good at relationship with parents.
Yeah, I know.
So they finally decide not to become non or monk, and to take care of parents.
Yeah.
And the son, they don't have, they have a better relationship with parents.
Yeah.
With us, they know how to relationship to become a monk or not.
Yeah.
So when people think about to become a monk or not, how can we deal with the relationship with the family and the parents?
Ani dzieła jako yogi ani dira. To dzieła jako yogasonta, to ani seguimento na dziewaje. Na fama ni Siemba di dzieła jako mindioti, to ani zoja cedu ko dzieła czyta. Widzieli? Ani tanta panika ni zoja cedu. Fama ni dzieła. Cia ya pore, ya pomani.
맞아. 그 question 아니 파마니를 보고 이래서 보고 때 먹게 트라키스 거타와 아니잖아. 라체로 그래. 이라고 question. 와, 이라. 오케이, 파마니도 님들 아니잖아. 건라체로 그래. 이라. 오케이, 다 아니잖아. 맞아 가야 돼.
Cristiani dzieła ja pojosam, ani zupimari. To dzieła ja pojori kola na potrzeby.
Yeah, it's not opinion. Yeah, it's right or wrong. I don't know. It's my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, if she or her, or is it she or he to agree to make a nuns or monk because he had a good reason. He didn't certainly to decide to monk or nuns. I think you need to think about more. If I make monk or nuns, it benefits for me to my parents or other beings. If I didn't to make a monk or nuns, it benefit for my parents or beings to it their difference. So he think about to this way, which is beneficial for his parents or beings. So I think he took decide if he are parent they didn't agree to make a monk or nuns, but he has reason because he think more about to if he might to monk or nuns after he learned to Buddhism, how can she or he learned Buddhism, there's more benefit for her or him parents or beings. I think in the short term, it is to little problem for her family or him family, but at the long term, it's a benefit for his parents and other beings because he is to learn to deep to Buddhist philosophy.
it's long time it's benefit for if we make nuns and monk to learn to more both philosophy to get more marriages and he's to become a good intelligent. I think yeah this
But in this case, when the parents don't understand.
Yeah, of course.
That matter, how
Yeah.
can you explain?
Of course, the parents, if the parent to really to know reality to know in both philosophy, of course they decide to. Yeah, you of course you did make a nun and monks. If the parents they didn't know about the food philosophy and the both traditional, if who just to know, yeah, love compassion, to many to deep this meaningful no, of course, yeah, the parents agreed to make a nun and monk. Yeah. Yeah, I think the parents they don't know about the food philosophy.
But if parents, they have different relation. Like
Yeah, I think in the short term they had not a relationship. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, yeah. If the parents there is no good thing, yeah, just like a Christian, the other yeah. After he to learn the more good philosophy, he just to try to teach for about good philosophy for her parents or relatives. Yeah, of course. After they to understand this good philosophy, just like a compassion, yeah, just like he teach for impermanent. They after the need to continue, yeah, and I hope to the to reality to know, yeah, this knowledge.
그때는 나는 그 선수 지와이나 뭐 파마니래야 파마니하고 요야다 파마니를 제일하고 용위치를 거는 거 아니면서 돼야 뉴에서 항상 비즈니스 약간
And
다 나신 거 어렸다
and my personal opinion in this case is that I also agree that in case if she decided to take care of the parents for this reason, she decided not to become an anila, a nun. I think she did a good decision.
이마이나 다시 양 잠바디가 그런 파마니를 때 틀려 마법의 지리 그런 안에서 우리가 파마를 때리가 그저 배 반성 이해가 저 된두고요 말이 다른 애들 내가 먼저 소들도 뭐 들어오는데 갈래야 쇼가 그런 거 나오는 밤에 나와 저는 밤에 배 저는 안에 잡아서야 저는 파마가 나와 요다 매스 파마가 나오면 그것도 조금 매스다 대양다 지기요 말 뒤에서 파마는 개어지니 그 바자바데 들으소사요나 그 쇼가 그런 나오는데나 밤에 나오면 왜이나 그 고치 조 말이 잘 들려.
And so, in my opinion, it's like that. If it's in order to take care of the parents, for the love of the parents is very good. I think it's okay not to become natural. But to the other friend, like doesn't have good relationship, and so in order to become Annie, I'm gonna cut the relationship with my parents. Then I go again, they wish, and then I become Anina or monk or so forth. I don't agree with it. I think it's not proper way to become nun or monk, because even the very first step before taking the vows is to have the proof, to have the approval, to have approval from the parents. So since her parents didn't give her approval, so it's not a proper way to take the vows.
완전 점이 아니죠. 이가 그렇죠. 일로지는 즉시 새로운 뭐 그러면 그러면 별로 값을 못해요. 다르살이 용 예로 아닌데 어디 그 야를 붙인지 되겠는데 상처주는 니코 판도에 주는 거 보면 아니 제가 그거 봐요. 니코 판도에 타마스 타마를 라티 타마스 주는 거 보면 아니 제가 너 보면 둘라 아니 그 파마스를 가서 시작하는 아니 교는 단 켈리 가만히 공화로 보면 가는 것 같은데 아니 제니들 다 지마고로 로ጆ야 못 참는지 야 용디 다고 그라 치리치는 아마스면 다 그리스는 케파만이 찾아오 야르 진지 치는데 그도 탈로 못 참. 아니 파마스 빼가고 조금 아니 그 때문에 제 잠에 좀 빼고 어 때제라 맞아 제가 요 되게 떨어 코로 로지코로 생겨 어떤 fondo 어떤
이거는 단데 냠들라 단데 관계 찾겠다 같은 거 여러 아마니까 서버 년이 거 잡아지야 도 요마 부정하나 탑라 나서 간이 돼 그래서
And but I have even like someone that we know, most of us we know here. There is a Germany Geshima here, Geshima Kasawamo. So we can use her own life story to illustrate here. So 20 years ago, when she came here, 20 or something like that, when she came here, her parents were against her coming to here to study Buddhism and so forth. And after when she decided, I'm going to become a nun, they, of course, they were completely against it. Still, she became Anila. Still, she became a nun. But because she engaged in the proper study, not just became Anila. She became Anila in order to improve in her study. And then studying year by year. Then she was always showing to the parents, like talking to the parents, like about her study. And one day she took her parents to here. And they met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And then they finally saw the benefit of becoming nun in order to study this beautiful philosophy, and then all the benefits that she got from these studies and so forth. And then after now they are very supportive towards her, towards she becoming Anila and so forth. And so what I have hope for your friend is that if already became Anila and so forth, so really engage in the studies and try to reconnect to the parents. I think it's very good. And then Geshe also remember on the most important and the first story, that is Buddha Shakyamuni himself. So before becoming, when he was Buddha, when it was the Prince Siddhartha Gautama, and so his parents himself, they didn't want that Buddha Siddhartha become a renounced person, right? He wanted that he keeps the kingdom and so forth. But then he really went through against the wish of the parents, engaged in the proper studies, and then came back with the benefits towards the parents. And so this, I think, is also a good way to return the benefit.
I have a question. I would like to know how the Geshes understand fear. Because I feel like in the West, fear is usually one of the main negative emotions. But at least among the afflictions or negative emotions, not taught as much in Buddhism. So I'd like to know how do they understand fear. Kiranso krijita kala tis sungtona ani kirangi koto kariye di nyamnyong rebe yana nyamnyong mare yana kamchare kapyawda yeah it's nyamnyong ne karichine di yomare yana nyamnyong rebe komas
저는 노출하는 메레라데 누구요 단도 심정하지 그노요 머리 모두 저도 지는 직접도 상관 단도 지속으로 뭐 뒤통을 감고 심정자 얘기들이 좀 메레도 나요 거기서 좀 주시죠 직접 보다 이거 왜요
So first of all, Petro's question was why the fear is not considered among the mental factors, all the afflictions. We in the West all the time would say fear. we have to, it's one of the main afflictions in fear. And why in Tibetan Buddhism psychology, we never see the word like, at least among the afflictions, it's not showing fear. How do you understand it? And Geshe answered that. Well, it's not in the presentation of Asanga's 51 mental factors of main affliction. Doesn't mean that it's not a mental affliction.
Sanyo the Dongo Mate, or the Sanyo Momuchi, the Yabdo, Roman Jita, Sujini, Yugomate. When I want to Lelo the way by the Lelo, the young after a Kangi Momuchi, or the Cosanyo on the Dongo window. It's a young that you could also Kangi Tea, the Simpson, so much Sanyo on the Dongo. Sanyo did the color, Sanyo knew from up with Kaza, Union from up. So Count Jones of Shichi.
And the fear, but one thing is that the fear is not considered as one of the 6 root afflictions, it's true. But it's together, it's correlated with all the afflictions, is one thing. And just like, let's say, laziness. So laziness is one of the unvirtuous mental factor, is one of the afflictions, but it's not considered within the 6 root afflictions. Why is that? Because it's connected with all of them, and all of them, they relate to the laziness. But laziness is not one of the main 6 root afflictions, one thing. And why is the 6 afflictions are considered like the 6 root afflictions? Because from these 6 root afflictions come all the secondary afflictions. But now I have another problem that is to fulfill my stomach. Did you have bread? Did you have
Just boy, it's not.
Ani nga nuchogi chigelo invechana nga chigia la vera. Namgyo nuchola kare chini koto pe kilchebo tana migo pe yoncha da wani cha tona jita ngamta gira. Kare chini tana mancha de sen kare pa mancha koto kare la vera sana ngamcha le kondro chungire. Ngamcha de jita ngamcha le ani do cha do cha tana migo. Kondro ngargie la sopa tsuoto ngamcha le. Oh, ti kuso prima po la ghiore. Carecini kerang ngamcha shivo dus, kerang jita shivo dus. Di gengi tana kerang pe kondro shivo tato, ngargil shivo dus. Oh, de lam kendi di de labegi tawa dine. Non c'è che mempa mancha di la pidus. Ani jita care.
Tada yon deo chimuyo da. Pena ngaso ngamcha chiyo de kandaya yima de waseo. Yima de semba makiba. Semba makiba de kondo ji su chade. Garas de gala choji corona na. Yima devi zenye ne jerdan tite danjo so. Jerdan semba makiba cha ngamcha chiyo de kanda semba makiba shi chimuja karda so de la ki dele deni kondo kia. Dele deo yo.
And then I also added to Peter's question that as being a Western, so I can posit why they say that we consider as Westerns like fear so important, like so important in our life, like, and because most of the psychology and even doctors and so forth, they say that our anger, our even arrogance, pride, and the bad pride, arrogance, they come from our fear. Like why you're so angry, like maybe you have a fear hidden within you and so forth. So this is very common, a common speech among the doctors and so forth. And then I shared this, and so I said, yes, this is very true. Actually, this has a very deep relationship between fear and anger, let's say like that. Because when you once feel fear, anxiety, fear, then the mind becomes agitated and like in an uneasy state of mind. So that uneasy state of mind is the proper cause of the anger. So that's the reason that they say out of fear, anger comes.
Reva toba nile teni konjita da teni yungu reva toba nile so yana jite reva shikchu ji ya ming dang korsa dang da ji dili penjo ba dili shikchu semle ti tati den jumanu ko toni yang ko semle in namja chi no chi
And these
toba or
And this fear or this anxiety, let's say like that, not just fear, but fear with anxiety. The fear with anxiety, actually, where they come from. So actually, they come from a false expectations, and not just false expectations, but expectations with a little bit of fear, or not just the same fear and the result, but it's the, when you don't believe, when you don't have the trust, the proper trust. So if someone wants hot milk, hot milk, just a little bit here. And so these fears, this anxiety and fears, they come from expectations, but not just normal expectations, so the false expectations. And adding to the false expectation, something very important, that is these random thoughts. Those we usually say like rumination thoughts. Those fabricated or rumination thoughts. The thought that keeps coming and again, and we feed again and again. That mind that never stops talking, that creates sceneries, that create the fantasies. So these fantasies, these thoughts, the fantasy are mystical thoughts, or these the thought that ruminates all the time in our mind. They are the one who really actually create all the bad scenarios in our life. That's the reason that few Sundays before in the love and compassion class, we mentioned the best method in order to reduce fear is to cultivate the mind of love and compassion. Why is like that? Because when we cultivate this mind of cherishing others, of loving others properly, genuinely, cultivating the mind of love and compassion, then this self-cherishing mind and this fear, the fear produced naturally. But we have two kinds of fear, one good and bad fear.
소리하다. 이거 꿀맛이니? 소소 로또 기야다. 이 세트 지야고 니도 제바다. 탑시 라야. 어디는 그냥 쪽 진행은 지다지. 내 지다야.
But actually, we have two kind of fears, and we have to differentiate them. That is the bad fear in the sense of when we feel fear, when we are afraid of something, we immediately like become small and self-pity, you know, like then we cannot do anything and so forth. This is the bad correct fear. But on the top, but if we have this bad fear sort of in our mind, like if we now we have this sensation, the bad fear that we feel like small and depressed and so forth. But out of this sensation, out of this fear, we cultivate the sort of the courage, the braveness of, okay, so how can I get rid of this? How can I get rid of this bad fear and really overcome this bad sensation? So the fear has two kind of fears. The bad fear that's just take us on. And the other one that is, well, from this bad fear, how can I get rid of this? So this is still the same fear, but that feed our wish to get rid of and bring courage and braveness. So this is good fear that is positive thought.
배샤바이 나도 센젤라미니 니지 공원에가나 그 등을 살로 다니는 거는 아주 서로 등을 내고 등을 다 니지 공부 강사가 이제 서로 등을 내고 그래서 서로 등을 띄고 망아서 막 냄새하고 막 또다 띄고 띄고한데 누워 막다 니지 공이 예 다때 많이 비가지고 내가 소소배 소소 나타나고다 딜리식 침보나니 띄고 배 등을 막 내미야 띄고 그 소소 막 띄고 등을 띄고 막 내미 소소 띄고 탈 놓치니 그 서로 등을 띄고 막 zemni 되고 그 서로 등을 이봐 집과 이봐 이나요 지디가 서로 등을 띄고 와도 만들어지냐 그 저렇게 탑시지 저렇게 지야지나 잠바디가 등을 한도 마도 잠바 상무주니 kormata 바지 조도
Just like when we meditate on compassion. What means compassion? Just like most of you already study. So compassion is that wish to see everyone just like oneself, free of any kind of suffering, right? And so when one is recollecting the suffering of everyone, of others, mostly the beloved ones, of course, in that moment, one is not happy, like just recollecting the suffering of the other person. So one also becomes sort of sad and anxious and so forth, right? So, but when one is cultivating compassion in that moment, and then one remember the suffering of the beloved ones, mainly the beloved ones, and it becomes completely sort of unmovable, like fixed. I cannot do anything because I'm so sad, and I became depressed thinking and recollecting the suffering of my beloved. So this is the bad side of the wrong understanding of the cultivation of compassion. On the other hand, if out of the recollection of suffering of others like beloved and so forth, one still remember the suffering of the others. And of course, one is not happy remember that others, mostly those beloved, are suffering. But one doesn't let oneself to get to go under the force of this suffering. On the opposite, oh my God, he or she is like suffering so much. So I really want to help him or her to get rid of her suffering. So the cultivation of compassion is the same. The recollection of others' suffering is the same. But one is completely oppressed, suppressed by suffering. And the other example is I take advantage of consciousness, be aware of suffering of others in order to feed my own braveness and courage, in order to get rid of how to think about the methods, how to help others to get rid of their suffering.
Did
you like the bread? Bread?
Yeah.
Our cook, our bread cook?
Yeah. No, but
they said.
Huh? Who made the
Not true?
But that's good.
Kapsel?
Kapsel.
Yeah.
I got a question. You mentioned, Geshe mentioned, the practice in order to accumulate merit that is Vajrasattva. From my very ignorant understanding, Vajrasattva is also a purification practice. What are more practices that have both these benefits of merit accumulation and purification? And is there a better method for us to just focus on purification or just focus on merit accumulation? Or can we do these practices to be able to do both and be able to eliminate, kind of purify these negative mental states, negative karma? And separately do more to have like positive cultivation of the mind and more merit accumulation.
Persistently, 아니 어디서 같이 치워요라. 다 지탄지나 다 소소티 파타야기 탑라. 아니 persistently 나 퓨리아탕 아니 님멘치라. 디치치. 아니 이나다 디난신이라. 아니 디파 타야기 탑당 아니 소남 타야기 탑라. 아니 님랭 디난신 persistent 난신 님멘시 바양 유레베. Yang ni nyemlen kasih yang na nyemlen sana midu dak karit ani cia di sanam saya tang ani dipa daya gi kapsitani da yure be kari yure yang mana kasih ani sanam saya chipure kasih ani dipa daya chipure be ani nyemlen je nyemlen jami da yure be.
알았어. 답 되셔 때 저는 저거 나와서 요래스. 네, 제일 좀 손은 담내에 맞춰 손은 좀 이시는 요래스. 봐, 손사 답 되고지 말아서 제퇴야. 간디 손 요래제는 제일 좀 손을 어디 가라라 그래라나 소소는 직양나 노선 당교 소소 잘라고 거니. 손은 사상 직 요래스. 때페나 간디들라나 아니 정근하나 그러면 겐딩게 들어가 관심하고 겐딩게 될 칼라 당하고 피틀리샤 요래스 펜스. 다들 가저 초래라는 소소 파마리아 접치셔야 당 아니 양다 교원에 접치셔야 돼 제일 좀 손을 치려고 그래서 라마다 들 빠지 피틀리샤 제일 좀 손을 잡고 치려서 피치 트래치 그래서 제일 맞죠 손을 가지고 요래스 되게 뒤가 땅부터 들려 요래스 그것도 되게 트레고 말 스페셜로 되게 트레고 말스 근데 간이 탑시 요래라면 손 상나데 제가 트레지아 간에 들이 산이 건설지 손치로와 하나 소름 산이데 타리 뭐지네 요가 차샤나 코를 델레 마라 코로 도나가르 지고를 공산 쪽 들이 손치 가르 송근도 아니 들이 가와 페퍼도 아니 손치 송아가르 간up가르세 테니어 점디 소는 시부 소는 델레 마존이 잘라트레 마군주 소는 산죠 코로나에 마르타데 가르 고르데 공산 쪽에 대바 네들 대바 요비 돈이 딱 공산 손치 가르 송근도 우리 가와 페그도 들이 살레 가르는 거 그때 Lama Kela Sopala Sokana to the Dayores Lama Pepsichea, and the Lama Kawisha, Kawashabu. So the Sablo Jemba Tangi, Vela Masis, Fabio Reyes, yes, Tashi.
I can share with you two methods or two ways of accumulating merit. That is even mentioned in Abhidharma Kosha Alamkara. Abhidharma Kosha Alamkara. That is there are two kinds of accumulation of merit. The first one is related the material ways of accumulating merits. And then what is the material way of accumulating merits? So it's even like using things, even like giving, like doing offering practice. And when it's talking about giving offerings or doing offerings, engaging in offerings, one can first of all like engage in offerings to the monastics or to the high realized monastic beings. And so helping them has lots of accumulation of merit. Also helping parents. The second one is like helping parents. Any kind of actions like helping parents, like in material and non-material, is also a great accumulation of merit. And also the third one is like doing offerings, like material offerings to the poor and for the needy people. And so all of these are ways of accumulating merit. Talking about material accumulation of merit. And the other one is like accumulation of merit without relating to material things. For example, when we go to His Holiness teaching, and so since His Holiness has such a high realized and such a special being, and so when we listen to His Holiness teachings in a very attentive way, completely focused and attentive way, that very mere action of listening attentively already is a collection of merit. Not only that, really pay attention to all of the actions that His Holiness is doing, like how he does, where he does, now what he's doing, how he's conducting, and so how he's conducing his speech, his body, and so forth. All of this sort of pay attention in his action, just by mere pay attention in this very high realized person is already an action of accumulation of merit without relation to material things. So these are two methods that I feel like sharing with you.
Also, yeah, the teacher, ne power my pamatandra, never to change about power my pamat, never to change. You just never like you see the just like if people to over my patient, yeah, patient and your parents also never and the Buddha if you can do, yeah, how can you pay? Yeah, this is a super big accumulated marriage, yeah, for yourself.
Dana ngarangu dili korugu tiwa di kosa. Yana sono gandu sabai le chidame chini sono gandu sabai ni di diba taktabla de lobi yore. Dini dana dosen ko di maimi diba taktab yore bezimi de yore. Ngaton nyam mo toji sami ko ni ane diba taktab chaya de yang zuji chade. Ani mo toji sami di gala wore esi diga. So danda ni siya samo tani. So 이제 그 잼바 디고는 내가 진짜 가라 지어봤는데 저는 교가 지위치 교생 지야 지 교가 식심을 지야 지 그래서 답변은 가장 간이 야송보다 뒤에 몰래서 가라 내가 내가 교생 식심을 지야 지 공부도 비슷한 하고 다 치스는 게 다 된디 비자 제산도 다 치스는 게 되는 내가 비자 다 지금 매에서 담겨 지야 지 이봐 그래서 근데 지가를 열어서 디가래야 아니 디몰래야 다 비비지 못다 디몰래 니도 지가라 몰래 잠보다 장지부센 나서 봐 이리고야 지 삼바삼부지 비도 근데 다 비서 다위 체도 다 다기 너무서 소야 그래서 장치야라서 봐도 다 디노 송아 다양다 다 디비나서 봐 오지야 돼 모두서 이것도 시지 다디 누가 다야 탑을 역시 주세요
And also I remember in the scriptures also the method in order to fight not just fight negativities but also accumulation of merit is to apply the four opponent powers. So the four opponent powers is first of all is to recollect the whatever negativity one's already made it and cultivate or create a very deep and genuine regret. So to regret to any negativity that one remember and can recollect, it really like from the deep of the heart can regret to these actions. It is the first step of the four opponent powers. And then then apply the second power, which is not only I regret to that previous negativity or not nice action and so forth, but also to create a determination, to make to determine oneself to never ever, or as long as one can avoid to engage again in this kind of negativity. And the third stage is it's just like we already mentioned here, like either to go for refuge or to cultivate the mind of bodhicitta, and to do all of these other accumulations of merit. And so this is the third step. And Shipati Tama.
That's what we do. You that's all down the side. Jamdo the Sinti Nama Jevan Joseph
and then the fourth one, and then the last one on the top of these three, the three steps of powers, of these three powers, and then on the top of this, and then one engage in frustrations and offerings and so forth. So before engaging in frustration for purification or for accumulation of merit, one has to rely to the first three opponent powers. So I think these four opponent powers, what we call in English, four opponent powers, is a very powerful and method to accumulate merit and to purify negativity.
Yana Kadisama Rasuni, Susan, the carrier name, the Zoe, the Martipa, the Zoe, the Mani, the Suni, it was a chick. Yana Senjay Shambal, no budget. Indeed, one day, it was my new dress. That's one of Sayadele, and Kunila swims up. Kunila tail. The only Ane Tambo, the Camdros. Camdro Chiati, culture is on the Javier Suni. It's only Camdro Chirigoni, so when it's on the side, they could chair. Counter Kusuya, any monkey but the money which she did, that's all the Camdro Chip. Nobody seems to the culture, same channel. Same channel number chat, so with fear, hint of it. Simjik in your nation, Simjik. You got it. You need to come with part I have to tap. Soon and so you can yam the talk. All in English. It's not a comfortable thing. I explain the English because sometimes I really want to say very deeper, very step by step. In my English, not. That's why when I speak in English, it's better, it's much better.
We practice.
Because today's here very good translated, two translators.
Será com que te tu grene, dá pouquinho. Será com que te dere.
Yeah.
Quando eu ia.
Tenang kakong ya beda. And also it's very important the basis. The basis in order to either cultivating accumulating merit, either and also purifying negativity, either accumulating merit or purifying negativity, it's very important. It's very important the basis for the practice. So the very basis is the three Jews, for example, for Buddhists, the three Jews. So that's the reason that one in the beginning one has to go for refuge. So the action of going for refuge to recollect all the qualities and so forth, to going for refuge it's very important because they qualities, and so when we collect the qualities and one wants really to genuinely to purify all the negatives in front of the three jewels, and then the power of three jewels can help you to in this purification. And not only this, because they are very powerful, like the three jewels is very powerful basis. So when it's really like regretting and recollecting all the negativities, and with that very deep and genuine mind of regret of the negativities in front of this very pure basis. And so the merit that one accumulates immediately helps also to purify the negativities. That's one thing. And also the beings that one affects in order when one is accumulating negativities or accumulating merit. And so when one harms, like the harm that one creates when one is accumulating negativities is towards some being, right? And so either high realized being or either to ordinary being. And so when one harm other beings, so the accumulation, the negativity accumulated is as powerful as the beings that you are aiming. Likewise, if one is helping or so forth, when helping the beings, so as bigger the realization of the beings is, the bigger is the accumulation of merit that one needs. That's the reason that it's very important to see both, like either the basis of the basis, like for the three Jews and so forth, and also where the place where the negativity is based on, or the merit accumulate is placed on. For example, let's say that I harm her, and then I ask her for sorry. It's not proper, right? So she's the one that I create harm. So it's the same. What he said is the same. Like if I create any harm to her, and then I ask for sorry to her, I mean it's not proper. If I harm her, so I have to ask for sorry to her. Now he has one question for you. Well, I have one question for you. So Geshe Puntok said that well, we have a basis, two kind of beings as being a basis for harm, let's say like that. Either like Buddha or high lamas, like very high realized beings like Buddha and Lama, let's say His Holiness, and other or ordinary beings like me. Okay, so if one harms actively harms, let's say His Holiness, why do you think the harm? Why do you think it's great? Or even like think something bad, has some bad thoughts about His Holiness Dalai Lama, just as an example. Why do you think just this mere bad thoughts about a high realized person, why do you think the negativity accumulated is so huge, so bigger than if one has the same thought towards a normal ordinary being? Why do you think so?
the carrier said in a class. I get a lot. Do you are something?
And then answer. What do you think?
I think, can I say? I think similar to, it's also said that if you harm our parents, also it's greater negativity. So because they have done many things to benefit us. They have done many things, good things for us. And I think also Bodhisattvas or His Holiness, they also do many good things for us. So if you harm them, it's worse.
It depends on this or this knowledge. If I say which is just harmful to people, just like different people, just harm people, some people is it has big knowledge. Yeah, some people just harming people. Which to make a better community.
We can acknowledge them now.
What is the difference?
Do you agree? Do you have
The ignorance actually would be greater.
the ignorance is in our side or is in the other side?
No, in the harming side.
So the harming side will be greater if we harm a Buddha or a Bodhisattva rather than a normal being.
The ignorance, the opposite of wisdom. So the ignorance would be bigger, and the effect of this ignorance would be bigger when it's aimed to a Buddha, or a great wisdom.
Di che tenga so centro sempre la sopra la sopra so non macina ci sono so mari potenamento dare c'era tutto sono so mari faceva in inglese di tola ma so ti faceva in sarese This is why you have to do
I would just say, would it be not because to harm a highly realized being would be to disrespect the ideal that you're heading towards yourself. So therefore, to disrespect someone like a Buddha would be to downgrade the path itself and to not actually see that as a worthy thing to be going towards. And so therefore it disregards the rest of all of your practice altogether.
Jew jumping for the country. And thank you. Pelce kilting한테 라마라서 방에서 push-up 메페토라 kilting한테 비파존아라 노나 아니 다 pelce 그리치니 비파 chewa 요레스나 다 기타 콘송한테 올레 네 똑똑토 요레스당 아니 셈 그래 셈 토다 오유라 아니 덴바서 상한테 콘송하니 push-up 메페토네 가서 다가랑 비파사이레 니안디 돈다 그랬으나 kilti 콘송한테 노나 da ngatsoi maumba ngatsoi dwa maumba ngatsoi kunso dawo ngatsoi chagirera de maso se kunso na ngatsoi yang ngatsoi maumba gi ani topato lepedite yang no diore pichiche ani peche se tanda ngatsoi kunso la nona ngatsoi maumba yang kunso na shin ani topato ani lepsi parera ine yang lam kadi tarang lam sende Lamdon senamidunga so pusha me petona yamena iche me petona so talarang so ani chawache yure mendros
Very good.
Elders? Maybe because when you talk badly about someone, anyone, like your mind becomes closed. And like bodhisattvas and Buddhas have like pure water, so it can't come in. And maybe ordinary beings like us have contaminated water, so it's kind of okay if it doesn't come fully in. But if you cannot receive like nectar in your mind, then that's very negative for you. And if you talk badly with other people about someone like His Holiness, then you can also create, maybe be a condition for that mind to be closed. And therefore, Dharma teachings or this kind of things maybe cannot be received by the mind.
Ale perna che si produrranno in questo contesto da so da ane ducha da wala na mi sembra cosa ciò che ne ha da ya come do ci la na ane mi sembra di corang ane cosa ciò che callo se na mi do ane tempo sang ane amchini mari ane ne an cosa ciò kang ane a sang jende de tang jenju sempre la sopra de sang ane ne topo yo tang ane tempo kare tena ane mi sembra parola di yang penso lebio maresa o dina sin pensier ma so ane di faccio in tare
no cap of shot. Voilà. Da cosa content of da demo di sono sempre. Da ci ci ne ci che tanzang de resi. Da ci tanzang de ma so no the cap of shot no maresa. Da perna ci da temai che tenta ci cardo tamasu. 남기 senche 발바지 쇼라 그래서 다치마도 쳐지마서는 욕바르시 욕바르지 용게르시 제동네다 약보레 디나 타콜 그래서 들나 다 견쟁 그런 시시 그래서 다든지 샴발라 견쟁도 오다 인디 몽고 지야로 다치 내치나 저들은 소소게 아니 그 말자고요 신도 그는 그렇게 고 빼자 너 갑박샤 이 나로래 그냥 당선이 그래서 납자 약보에서 아니면 제야로 인디비티엄 사이에 이체는 다 보는 시치는
그렇지 빼야
other
지금 저런저런 되니까 만냠냠가 지가 마트가 당에 야트가 당에 진짜도 배 열기는데 되게 많이 줘서요 정말이면서 마트가 돼야돼 저런서야 열기도 있지디 해서
어쩌다 보면
All right. Maybe if we don't respect like the holiness or the Buddha, it will become like a seed, like buried into our mind stream. A seed. And if we more and more disrespect, more and more stronger seed or more many seeds. So maybe not in our own this lifetime, or maybe many next lifetime, we need to gain more merit to purify it. And in another way, we are not sure how long can we alive. Maybe today I have very bad attitude to the holiness. Probably tomorrow I had a car accident and this life ends. So who knows what will happen in the tomorrow? Yeah. So
di anche certi di consommo sono tanto ani sabun ducciato nel mio da faccia ducciato nel mio non so più la ne shaggio girerà ani Riterino, Stanino, Danitro, Cicirani, Chiope, ma non tanto non so più la ne crea sapundo ciatramento da faccia du ciatramento prima posta. Ane di dai cedura, sono cazzo sai. Ra. Ane di anche il tinga cosa ciò terinra, ciò nonna. Ane di ciatramento scena carina terinra nonna. Ane stai na mota damneshina. 아니 당 나하고 마서 데 믹세디라 카초 데투 기레 나하고 마서 데 마서다 드린랑 아니 디 슈심포니 스타나 아니 스타나 사니 랑 파트로나 아니 다동 선암 사야가 베가 다동 고타리라 어디 치지
네. 자,
심라 others
다죠.
yeah that
다죠.
that's
왜 레이저
제가 되게 싫어요.
알레 하기 좋았다 듣고.
알레리다 그 약고 두스다 저지리데 이 뒤와데 주도 야지도 있지 진짜. 니만 떡바 기실라가 손데라스. 그거데리는 소소야 암치 따뜻한 시티엔스. 제단이 데레사 네들이 삼부여로. 그나 konsan chodo wajila dikya chena nga tiwa sur chigla toba kare yo chogre la na kherang da chigta pedon da chi konsan cholo dikya chena konsan chogo pedon chu son nyore dewa yo wa ni so so phama la dikya chaw da ra wo re yesi chego pedon ju chig dikya chena dikba chere la dewa chig dusi ina ya dewa chuni mi yo mi chig konsan cholo samba dikya chena konsan cholo dewa chuni me na ni mi de la dikba chig chaga de da tiwa na cha chok siba res min dewa chiga yo marta konsa chola tindi chiga konsa cho sama na bo chena nga so chena ta konsa cho nga so chu song ta nga so pen to yo re ne konsa cho ta dewa chiga me jo chiga mi chiga konsa cho sama na bo chena ko dikba chimbo chawi jim se de ta na cho chini nga chiga nga le yo se yena nga ko sam ki yo lam na
저런 또 거예요.
aro le to chi yo se nga de len de chi nam ji gar sam du se na ra tidi yo sa re sam du konsa cho do de lu ta nga sim tama ya sim se tam chigi 막 사람 남다가다요. 저번 말에 사람 남다가 강에 뽑아 땅 사와 인도 그 미리 가르쳐 드리려면 지방을 잘 잡다리. 어서 적으로. 지금 미 페나 텔 노바체는 지방을 잘 알아가 버치도 미시도 콜은 레와 요타 메카체미 콜 잘하대. 페나 지방을 잘하대. 미 점바지 구마 잡나요? 니와 치아라. 소소 구마 미치기 잘하 구마 잡나 때 니와 청하라. तेन आज कोई कौन जोदन रेवा यो ना में ना को कर छारे चिबा भी छारे कर जे को सिमसे थाम सिंग शेट कोरो लु ता ना थाम yang gi chit tang sa chi gi chala cha ta re ani tel du cha che na ni du ba cha de jim se kara pe idumba o chala chi gi chala ji ku ma jam na maron jil rewa yo na ya ni wa yo re ngaro chiba de rewa me na ya ni wa de yo ra kar chin ko chi gi chala yin bo te da o chi na re sam ku 다다 되게 하고 근데 좀 아주 저지 어제 제일 좋은 자 누구제도 이거 제일 대용니까 저세 강가다 제발 말이 뭐 제발 말이 거 제발 말이 장들 가져요 그것도 집어 살고 싶은데 어제 자기가 그것도 똑바로 통을 그 보니 아니 다로 아주 그 콘도 가서 용면 콘도 치조데 동가 통은 거지 자꾸 근데 이제 뭐 지금 제가 요걸 같이 주는 아니 동가 그래 또 전에
단다로 피나 좀더 요라데 다시 바이 ena masena dipachata tendo sena dipachonga yore kar damazat ki dendo peche ki le mari ki ke yapo chi tundore na tendo deat mage le chozama so nando chore ye namjun ta ki tamba ta konta ta sange chi na ge so chembo chi choyo so da cha ta chembo chi cha
너무 제가 나 제가 직발에 나 친구 차디 제가 잘라 너무 세렌드라 제가 제가 못 산다 거기에 나갈
And well, first of all, I ask you this. First of all, I ask you this because in order for you to reflect again and again, and also to increase the knowledge and to increase the wisdom about many of these topics. But this was the aim of my question. But for me, I want also to share what pops into my mind. For example, let's take a very high realized person. Now we are talking about His Holiness. So let's take that if I do something very harmful towards His Holiness, but let's say that I speak very bad about His Holiness to Pedro. Let's say Pedro. Why Pedro? Because Pedro is someone that has faith in His Holiness. So if I speak badly about His Holiness to someone who has faith, and let's take that if I talk badly about His Holiness to someone that has no connection at all to His Holiness, like has no connection at all. So why should the harm that I create to His Holiness be bigger or not bigger when I when I induce a bad thought towards someone who has faith on him or has no connection at all or not. Sometimes I ask myself this. Okay, this is one thing. This is just a question to myself. And another thing that he said. Oh yeah, and then. And then why? And so why then is the harm created when one's talk badly, when one's harm a very high realized person, just like His Holiness? Why so big? Why is so bigger, so heavier than harming a simple ordinary person like me? Why is like that? It's just like harming a public thing. You know, like when one's harms something that is for the use of public use, for the use of the whole society. If one harm a thing, like a public thing, a public use thing, so actually one is harming like not just one person, but the whole society. It's different than if one is harming just one single person that has no effect on so many people, and so the harm goes just towards one person and the harm doesn't go towards so many people. So this also, I think, is when one harms a very high realized person, being. So actually, it's harming the whole society. It's harming a public object or a public symbol of importance, like that. Okay, that's one thing. Okay. And actually, in brief, there is in order to know when the negativity is going to be bigger or not. Well, first of all, yes, we have to have the relationship, just like he was saying. So we have to connect with the person that we are harming. So we have the relationship with the person that we are harming. Yes, the harm is bigger. Okay, but not only that. The most important is the sort of the qualities, the attributes, the good qualities that the person has. And so if the person has more quality, so there are two people being harmed by you, so one has much more qualities than the second one, so definitely the harm that the negativity that you're accumulating on the top of the harm action towards that more knowledgeable or more quality person is much higher than the negative that you're accumulating towards the sort of simple person and so forth. And of course, like when the quality is higher, we don't say like quality of beautiness or higher and like a taller person, or it's not like this, like quality like in realizations like that. Just like when a higher realized person become angry towards a less knowledgeable or less realized person, the negativity that the person collects is smaller than a less realized person when become angry towards a high realized person. So when a person, like ordinary person, become angry towards a bodhisattva or towards a Buddha or towards a Lama and so forth, so that Lama has much more realization than the ordinary person. So the action of becoming angry towards a more higher realized person is much bigger than if it's the opposite. I agree.
Then a chalachi and the ship comes in each charge on a chisra, Tacha Yomarilla. Tola de such a much more. Cousin of Doji Palam with chalachi in each charge on it. I honor not on Android, only get the Paskin, we know what you are. And then I'm not so Malay, Metam, non choosing to do on radar. Tawachi on there, you enjoy me to attention and me, just Tawachi on you, sharp on a couple in Jera. Now, so now you didn't speak to chanting you are. Or they teach you the Tawachi on Tangiora, Tawachi at the no patch in the Tinaji than the child of Tawachi at the Trolla Town, the Chalachon.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with him in the sense of like qualities, because when people are more important, like we have to pay attention to the importance, sort of levels of importance. So if that person is more precious, more important in the sense of more precious in the sense of realization, like we are talking here about realization, dharmic realization. So the person who is more precious, more realized. So when we harm that person, of course, the harm is much bigger than if we harm a person who is not that precious, not that important in the sense of realization, in understanding of dharma and so forth. Just like let's take this cup. So if this cup has like very low qualities, no attributes, like it's a simple cup. If we break this cup, so actually the harm is not going to be so big, so big. Rather than if we break a cup, like I don't know, a golden cup or a cup with a very precious material made by very precious materials, like it's exactly like that. If we break a cup, well, we can still go to a shop to buy another one. Of course, sometimes we spend more and less money trying to replace the same cup. But for these, when we harm a more precious in the sense of more realized person, then the negativity will come bigger or lesser, depending on the qualities of the basis of being harmed. Okay, so since now it's already time, and so maybe or we leave here, or because we already promised that it's going to be until 5. So if you have any activity or work after now, you can go. But since there are still 2 questions, like during this week we had lots of questions, maybe we answer these 2 questions. If anyone wishes to stay, stays. If you want to go, you can go. And the 2 questions during this week was lots of dialogue and question and answers and a big forum about self and selflessness. And so now I'm going to explain a little bit about this. And also a few weeks ago, we received a question about how to get rid of attachment. So how is the methods in order to get rid of, attachments? Who needs to go, please? It's free to go. It's okay. Thank you. Oh, tambo, ane, so the ane, dunda, ngomong makaran chikla ta, dark tanda metira. Ane, so ane, nampe tawala tone ane, dark se atira, dark me, ane kudong kariles. Ngato ane dark mes, cosa chuk di sonidwa. Ane sancho de dark meres, ne so pet me parebes. Ane subhadrogures, ane kyoangamane chimapatu subhadrogures. Ane fashekashe namshira res, no namshi padrogures. Inan namshi tiene dagina kes da kansa chamchugures. Ane dark mesi adi kareres kareyo mares so dires da petra kasankeranchik kursan. Ngazo concho hamakon wala nye pardon soso jani dagla hakogoresra o tiwati jolin tama dile leso dile jonso di chiche ani mama ngazo ni ko de chara tampo krani jucha tang sewa ducha tang sewa ta ninje ki pakare yo ta mechisidura prima son san ducha shukshe boyos ani ducha di septat yaksho kareres.
Yes.
Yo pedame.
그래. 나
유비다 근데비다
그래서 남긴 곳에서 정말이 남비 따로 가시나 저는 그쪽 때마다 저기 그래. 이 세지 돈을 내면 그 시에죠. 인도시 단단한 가르치는 다 아니 남기 지된 거지. 다 당소했네. 다 본인이 그래서 같이 되시는 거예요. 아니 지금 그쪽은 남자분이 따뜻한 계시는 거 같아. 그 이제 roughly 생각해.
Convention.
condition 어떻게 해주면 좋겠다. 그런 가르치는 남기가 주 미팅이 다른 현재 런디 미팅도 지대도 이런 것이 같이 시작하려야 왜 라파지 간이 따로 이렇게 따뜻한 라파지. 같이 테스트 레벨 마스는 이바시 바판. 테스트 얼마에 테스트 차례잖아. 학번 남경아 좀 통대 우연히 땅을 줬던 관리지 주시지. 어떤 통반 나신 제들이 같이 시행하나 아니 되게 아니 돈담 남자 아니 돈담 남자 다음에 베이스 남자 뒤 다음에 남기 위치 다음에 신세 다단이 되냐면 제체 다음나 고치기로 되고 싶어서 라벨건에 다단 치기로 치 이제 처고관이 다사이 니니 방법 고치잖아 라벨건이 다단 치기로 깔라 치도니 이제 처고관이 같이 시간되나 이거 백plan 맞아 지금 examination 맞아 왜 나와래 왜 나올까 never 백까 거기 바로 지워지죠 이 방법 고쳐 보겠어.
Well, I think first of all, it's very important for us to understand that there are two kind of first of all presentations, let's say like that. So there are two presentations in the sense of two ways of perceiving things. So first of all, the first one is how do we perceive conventionally things? How do we mundanely perceive things? How do we exist here? So how do we understand this in a very conventional way? For example, I go, I come, I eat, and so forth. Well, this I that go and goes and comes and so forth, this exists, right? We can see, we have direct experience that we are here, we didn't disappear and so forth. And so in this conventional way, we do exist in a very gross and surface level, let's say like that. This is the I, this is the self that does exist, that is accepted, that this exists. Okay. So conventionally talking, so we relate to everyone as having self. So one self relates to the other self like this. Okay. So this is in a conventional way. But then we can go deeper and deeper, understanding, okay, this conventional self that exists and that we relate in the daily routine, how this self that I'm conventionally relating to, how this properly exists, how this self properly is established. Then comes a more deeper philosophical view. Then comes a different understanding of how the self really is established, how the self is really exists. So this self really exists, how this really exists. Then comes all the philosophical views like not being existent but what's outside and so forth. But this then is talking about in a more ultimate level, in a more more subtle or ultimate understanding. But not talking about ultimate understanding, let's not present this view now. But then just understanding that in a very subtle ultimate level, there is no self. Just listen about this. But then we relate in a conventional way, and we understand just in a conventional way, and not understanding how this self exists or not exists in a ultimate level. And then we just mix these two concepts. Then, of course, many confusion comes. If you don't understand how to separate, how to differentiate what means in conventional existence and in a very ultimate or subtle level, then all confusions come.
지 가려서는 남기는 세 아마 저 지를 로경 제자 이제 제자 이 지장샤 다 뭐 그래 내가 원이 이제 저 파샤 파샤자네 이것이 또 아닌 맛이 수석의 남기 전나 쇼도 랑신 수석 삼라는 지 치열라 따타이는데 수석을 따타이 때 간듯이 주세요 이렇게 이 강의 지간은 상마디 지 샴바지가 때요 나와 샤고 상마 거 아니 랑신지 주바세 근데 지 현재 두바세 당가 장네 지금 땡제레다 샴바라 땡레다 지안에 디디가 맞아 뭐 장사 이나야 샘 근원이가 저 랑신의 관계 있어 이 따땅데 가데레서 나나 맞아 뭐치는 지열라 따나다 소설 상도나 그 이제 강에 뚜메가 소설 나오시요 이 상을 시고요 뭐 텐더원에 다다기 다음에 말이지 텐더에 따땅데 논조레다 이요 말이지 에티까지 시고다 다음에 비까지 시작하나 상마 텐더가 하시래 마트밍은 아니 같이 말이죠 그렇지 쭉 정말이야는 좀 가리는 시죠 어디 다음에 비까지 시작하면 이거는 시작
But then when we really analyze, when we really study about this ultimate level of self, of existence of self, then we can have many understandings. We can study and have many understandings about this, and then we discover many sides of what exists and not exists. But before engaging into these, are not even like. Well, we already study about this and we understand what is the selflessness and so forth, but let's leave aside this. Let's bring to our own experience. In our own experience, when we look at the world that we live with, that we deal with, how do we perceive the external objects and not just external and general objects? How do we perceive ourselves? How reflect together when we're talking here. How do you perceive things outside here that you are looking at? How do you perceive yourself? Do we perceive oneself like being completely like independent, like completely self-established, self-sustained? Or you perceive that thing like existing independent on something else? Then one goes to the studies and then to the more subtle studies, and then okay, so the self that exists, how is established? Is established like being existing independent on others perception mind, or depending on like being completely empty of existing from one's own side and so forth and so forth. But then in our own, this is just like after studies, but in our own perception, in our own experience in daily routine, how do you perceive things? How do you perceive? Do you perceive things that being completely like it's there, it's completely like exists, like independent on anything, like even if I look or not look to this cup, let's say, exist, like completely independent, autonomous, or depend on independent to other phenomena. So this is when the discussion, the reflections comes towards this level, then is the thing that is rejected. So everything that exists, the things that are there completely independent, exist in an independent way, like being completely self-sustained, self-existent by its own side. This doesn't exist like that, because that exists, but exists depending on a mind perceiving needs and so forth. So that's the reason that in an ultimate level, in a more subtle level, the independent self is rejected and exists in an independent, dependent, in an interdependent way. This exists.
Yeah. Also, da 요래식이 요비다 가르는 데는 이제 아차 수차에서 나차 제니치도 대 요비 전에 다 요래는.
And then someone can ask, so do I exist? The self exists? Well, pitch yourself. And then, if then, I just heard So who is just painful now? Me, I, self. So this self exists.
다 매래 지금 다세 측치권에 다 매래 세야 돼. 어쩌래야 야 지금 나서도 캔서지 나 어디 가나 그 나서도 캔서지 남겨서 이 나신디요 말했습니다. 그런데
But then what doesn't exist when we say selfless, right? Selfless, no self. What is self? The self that appears appears wrongly in the sense, like the mode that the self is not established, but it still appears like that. This self that doesn't exist as appearing, this self is the non-existent self. That's the reason that is selfless.
맞아요. 천나 가려운 거를 이제 빼나 다나 준비를 삼도 담고 어떤 디나나 미실 하지도 대진의 소소소들의 삼도 디나나 나 미실 디나니 나 자와 체쇼 땅하고 takshur tangaro zangshur tangaro insamalu 지금 janda가 나라 마투비 나 상상 와서는 모두 나 측도봐 내가 자와 침무 나 소라 나비고 딘디치 나와 나신도 우리 또 원에 따라 제가 저 나리 니나 자와 치안으로 들이 요리에서 데메비 차니까 지나메바 다메바즈네 살로도나 드리메.
Let's take all of us here in this room. We are more than 20-30 people here. And among all of us, these people, who is the most, for each of us, who is the most precious? I am the most precious, right? So we have, no, me. Not me. So this me that perceives, that we perceive, being spoken or not, but we perceive as being the most precious among all of us is this me. This me is the me, is the self, is the I, that doesn't exist because doesn't exist the way that it's perceived, that the way that it appears. This is the way, this is the self that actually doesn't exist.
나 이나야 남시세야데 요한 가만히 니니 chama 진이 돈이들이 이마에나 다다 남신이 대냠도 도르마도 남시도 다마레스 가르제 다 남시다 많이 방아로 줬다기 게 벗어 소나지 고란시가 나초 남진이 로 행기라 가르스 니 남시 니 라파싱도 봐도 난고 나 남시즈네 그래서 라시는 기가서 삼발에 용금이가 대 마용한테 가르타테 거는 남시도 나다 많이 봐대 때려더니 하고요 이마에나 남시당가 지고데 건데 제가 메바치니 고 너무 됐어.
And who is the one, who is the self that comes from many infinite lifetimes and goes to infinite lifetime? Who is this? Some of them they say that, oh, is the mind, which is not the self, and so forth. It was among the commentaries during this week. It's not like that. The mind that comes from infinite previous lifetime and goes infinitely to future lives, this consciousness, together with the mind, together with the I related to the mind is the I that exists, is the I that goes to one life towards another life. Of course, we say that the consciousness is the I. It's not like that, but the consciousness being related to the I, to the self, as being related to the self, or the self related to the consciousness, coming from and going to. And lifetimes, so these exist, and this is the I that is that goes to one life to another life.
Yeah, that you know,
Allez, quand tu viens, avec la leçon d'Itanjua, Atma c'est dit, Atma tandak chik parebes. Same discussion, so came also if the self is the same as soul, because usually there's soul in the Buddhist scriptures translated into English. Why so? So soul is the same as self. Well, if you want to understand about soul or atma in Sanskrit, atma or soul as being that permanent, unitary, and independent self or independent self, then this is atma is not the same as self.
근데 저 이거 가로 도착.
Dochatan, Dochatan Sita.
난 도착 세비 탑대 도착 세비 탑 주무대다 주무나 집안에 미디고 본바세 하잖아. 소소 도착 강을 기사가 유럽에 미디고 보면은 텔레비전 도착 세트 우리세 아치. 이마이나 다 야쇼르데 야쇼르데 세야 되는데 그 소소래 벤도쇼도 오지 가려 보이는데 도착 기사가 유럽까지 지면 고 지게지게 유럽으로 가라신도 오지 고마이나 그래서 소소 가와로 노셔시고 단다 통신이 가와는 노셔시고 끼고 가이나 다래 단다가 너로 통신이 내가다는 이제도디 이마이나데 니마 상코르 다와 디리로 디리로 오디가나코 대나신 그 니지고 가라신도 되고 말해서 이나신 그미 판스 보다 보고라 판스 차고 치고요 가이나요 소 단단 통나 대다가는 타바티메라 시진이 되기를 되고 말해서 이게 유언도 당신은 상도 담바이나 콜라무디 차고 돈이들 이게 되는
Okay, and the second question about attachment, how to get rid of attachment, or what is a way to reduce attachment. Well, there are many ways to reduce attachment, but maybe the most practical way to meditate on and reduce a little bit of the attachment is try to see the impermanence, the characteristic of impermanence of that object of attachment. So let's take that we are very attached to our mobile, any object, let's take as mobile. And so this mobile, like, is not permanent. It's changing moment by moment. It's gonna break. It's gonna be old, or it's gonna last and so forth. And so because of the mobile is gonna change, so it's not gonna last exactly the same as we wish to, as for. So that's the reason that if we meditate again and again, reflect and again in the transitory characteristic of the object of attachment, also reduce our attachment. Likewise, relationship, like boyfriend and girlfriend, and relationship between two spouses and so forth. And so if one remember that person, try to bring to the mind the person that we are too attached. So that person, just like our mobile, just like all phenomena that are impermanent. So that person also is impermanent, also will change moment by moment by itself. And also all the way of thinking, the way of acting and so forth changes. And so, and in the future, maybe that person also can act in a way that please or disgust us. And so also these just like recollecting the characteristic of transitority or impermanence of the object of our attachment helps to reduce the strong force of strong power, the strength of this affliction.
난 도착가 저 도착라 도착가 디자인 받아와 시초리 당와 나래 뭐냐 도착해야 되가 나 가서 준 도착가 준도 통고 도착가 준도 통하라 너를 저기를 단 도착라 공시 하정 시침부 요소서 소속이 될 도착 기위 가다 대도 서치가 이거 가르치 소속 샘도 대지 홀로도 기보소도 이네 샘도 상대는 소도 지금 샘도 대보메 반도 기보메 반도 소고 바이나 코다 쫀지 요소서 이 코고 쫀도 대지 시침부 다토이나 코대지 시초리 당리 나오도 모두 맞어 단디 내가라 도착되지 가라 보보니 반전 되어서 거는 이것도 도착네 저니 요야요만 도착은 맞어 대화 체그리 모두 dimmer 체그 말이 스tam그 티사로도 요소서 then 도착을 주는 이것도 도요요.
And also it's crucial also to think about the understand how attachment works, and on the top of attachment, how the person who is feeding or under the power of attachment, how this person becomes like. And so just pay attention to when you are under the force of attachment. Under the force of attachment, you are too attached to something. In that moment, how is your mind? Are you tranquil, happy? Are you completely in peace, or you are a little bit agitated because you are under the force of this attachment? Many people, they say that, well, like in order to have partners, in order to have relationship. If there is no attachment, there is no way to come together with someone else. That's completely not the case. The point is when we are together with someone, we have to have this relationship. But if that attached mind agitates you, that's the sign that actually the attachment has faults. It's a faulty mind.
그래서 리베 나사들 가리오레스 진이 나사 내가 니가를 진이 나사 요레스 이나 아라나 식식식보무도 이바이나고 네 아라나 나사 식식보무도 고 이바이나 칼레 그거 배 좋아하던도 대나지가 샘그 진이 나사들 남지 도샤레스 네 어떤 그 도샤 이소다 도샤들 남사 샘을 끼어오는 가라 고 대장고 시대비로서도 공로로 있는 남상가서 수이나 거기 기부비고 하고 도자 생길의 기용도 있는 남사 민주주의한테 가보리 되는 거 간에간 이리지는 배 참말이고 용다들 돈이 되는 용다 참말고 세워서 샘비진이 나서도 도자레스.
Before also he said, I forgot to say, before also said that many people think that, oh, to feel attached to someone or to something, actually it's nice, it's good, I feel good. Well, if it's good, so one will not become agitated and uneasy, right? So one has to pay attention when we are under the force of attachment. How are you? We are agitated, so that is a sign that shows that attachment is faulty. Besides, you think or you feel like maybe it's good to feel attachment and so forth. He said that before. And so, for example, let's take like a physical disease. Let's take like diabetes, like sugar. So the patient of the diabetic person, just like both of us here, we are already diabetic. We have this sugar, like high sugar in our blood and so forth. So we have this disease, the physical disease, right? But out of this diabetic disease, sugar disease, we are not here like suffering of pain. We are not screaming like that because we don't even feel like we don't feel like having this disease. Likewise, attachment is the same as diabetes. Like we don't feel like bad. We don't feel like bad going under the forces of attachment. But in the end, just like diabetes will bring us so much problems, in the end, the same, like those people who are going under the force of attachment, not just these people, but the person will suffer so much. Likewise, everyone else will feel the pain or the suffering, the negative result of that attachment, because the suffering of that attachment will spread among all around the person who is attached.
That's all.
Okay, so let's live together. Thank you.
갈레요를 있나요?
Sorry.
아니 그전에 뭐 저희 나오는 다른 제시는 상관라 두지지.
Thank you so much.
네, 근데 사이나지 다른 거 지금 로종 나기거래요. 제가 저 지와요는 것들이 시대 소바게 소바나를 지와 담아이나 이제라와이나 이나 기스도 이제 소바도 이제라도 거저 이제 더 밀레데 그래서 제가 저 이거죠. 나로 나오시니.
Yes, and so thank you so much for all of you being here, all of you interested in listening and discussing about this, and all Geshes here present. Also, thank you so much. And so everyone, I'm very happy to see everyone here. And tomorrow, the day after, so we have His Holiness teaching. Not tomorrow, I mean. Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Oh, that's ale pani na nie.
There are teachings, but there are granularity, some information.
And then, so anyway, so after, if His Holiness will be healed, cured, if there is this teachings also, so you please pay attention and you listen with a very good motivation. And if you have questions, anyway, if you have questions, not just during the teachings, but anytime, please make the questions in the WhatsApp group or in the classes. And then as long as we have translators, we answer you, or also Geshes Jaten and Geshes Soga also in English, then can reply to you directly. Okay, thank you so much. Ganden Rinpoche is coming. Ganden Tripper is coming instead, so everyone can come, and Ganden Tripper will do the first 2 days, and the third day His Holiness might come. Ganden Tripper is the holder of the Gelug.
Yeah, he's a very, very.
He's up for the Gelug, actually the highest. The highest for the Gelug tradition.
Yeah.
What do you think? We put together? It's okay?
Yes,
Let's make a.
I take the pic.
You also can. I have.
Yeah, maybe better.
Thankfully, they are my friends. But imagine if they were my enemies. So that would be
Thank you, everyone at home. Hey, Lucia. It's Yang. Rika.
Goodbye.
It's Yang. Holland. Come some me choose this.
Thank you.
Come. Hey, ta. Elistancion. Hey, how are you? Good, thank you. Let's take picture together. Oh, yeah. Come. Yes, this is people at home. It's okay. It's so wonderful, huh? Was it good? Come on, take in front of me.
You say like this.
Yes. Lots of people. No, I You're not a friend. Come here. And you also are not a chicken.
I will take it.
But now we don't have the people from
I will
online.
look at this and then take one.
No, you have to. No. Wait. We have to do the what? The windows. The menu. Como a gente dá a volta? It's okay. This is for people at home talking.
Window.
9, 10. Yeah, bye. Hello.
Vamos.
One more, that's all. Yeah, Carchilas.
One more.
That's it. Thank you. Baritita. I got you. Anel Spanish dollar mi kigir chisan. Anel. No bien, entendiste todo, colega. Ai, Pedro, acho que espero não ter falhado tudo. Tudo bem. Eu acho que eu fechei em algum momento.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.